Hello, welcome to another edition of SacTown Movie Buffs. Once again, I'm Kier, and this is Jason, and we are back once again with another show. Today, we are actually going to be talking about two films that we saw recently. The first being Lovebirds, which you can find on Netflix, and the second being...
Yeah, it's The Lovebirds.
The Lovebirds, whatever. So, The Lovebirds, which you can find on Netflix, and is it Selah or Selah?
Selah.
Selah and the Spades, which is on Amazon Prime. So cool. But before we get into that, how you been, man?
Good. Just not a whole lot has changed. Still working from home. Still staying home most of the time. I'm seeing new. I just saw a news report a few minutes ago that some states are opening movie theaters again.
Right.
With restrictions. I mean, you've probably seen the pictures of the theaters with the seats missing and everything.
Yeah.
And California is not there yet. And honestly, I don't know that I would be going right off the bat. But I mean, I guess it's a little, it's encouraging. It's going to be weird for a while, though. Really weird.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know what to think about it.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same position. I'm actually going to be going back to work pretty much full time starting on Monday.
Okay.
So it's going to be very separated. They're only bringing in a few people in the office, so I'm like one of the 4 people in my department that's actually coming back, and we're all going to be like completely quarantined away from each other. So the nearest person's probably like 20 feet away from me. So it's not too bad. So I'm not too worried about it. It's no more of a concern than going to Walmart to get groceries. You know what I mean? So,
right. Yeah, exactly.
Or whatever, to go pick up food or whatever case may be. So I feel okay with that, but it is nice to see that things are starting to get back to some sense of normalcy, even if it's going to be like this for a little bit. And then, obviously I have a wedding coming up in October. So obviously I'm really concerned, about what's going to happen with that and what that looks like. And, if it's only gatherings of 10 or more, I'm like, well, that's pretty much me, my fiance, and our vendors. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping things get lax on that real soon as well. You know what I mean? So we feel comfortable about that. So, but yeah, I'm going to probably wait to go to the movie theaters also. Plus, there's not any new movies coming out that I know of. I'm not seeing anything that they're releasing. So most of the big stuff seems like it got pushed back for a few months is what I thought. So
yeah, the news report I just watched, it says that again, this is not California. This is like 10 or some number of other states, but they're going to show classic movies at first because there's no new releases. So
there's not a good point for me to go anyway. So
that's what our drive-in is doing. Like the drive-in's open,
right?
But they've been showing like Back to the Future and stuff like that for the most part.
Yeah,
and a couple of movies that were new release when this all started. Still, like still showing The Hunt. I think for one thing. So because that was like the last movie that opened before everything
went south. Yeah, I'm probably gonna wait as well then, because I've seen all the ones that came out pretty much in 2020 that I wanted to see, and half of them are already out on Blu-ray or DVD now. You know what I mean? Like Bad Boys for Life and Birds of Prey, and a lot of them are already out. So I'm like, well, I would just watch that at home. You know what I mean? But I guess if you haven't seen The Hunt or something like that, then maybe you could catch that if you wanted to. So
yeah, and I don't. They did mention there were some movies that were scheduled to come out. I don't know if they said next month or the month after that they're still kind of planning on opening them. And I know the only one that I was interested in was Tenet. The new
that would be one that I want to see. I still don't know anything about that movie really, but I
think you're supposed to.
I think that's just Christopher Nolan style. You know what I mean?
And I was telling Chris, my partner, that. For a while, it's going to be like it's got to be something really good to make you want to risk your life to go see.
Yeah, no, seriously, it's got to be something big. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. I love Back to the Future and Ghostbusters or whatever, but I'm probably not going to take that risk when I got those movies at home on DVD.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right. So, on my own couch.
Yeah, I don't want to go that badly. You know what I mean? It's going to have to be like a Tenet or something I was really looking forward to seeing. Right. You know what I mean? In order for me to even venture out and go. So
Christopher Nolan, maybe.
Yeah. All right. Well, good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, with that said, I think we're ready to kind of get into it. So we're gonna start off with Lovebirds, and I'll have you kick it off, if you will.
Yes,
get into it, man.
Here it says the Lovebirds. So
yeah, that is very small though, man. Nobody sees that.
Yeah,
all you see.
So this is interesting because kind of what we were just talking about. This is a movie that was originally supposed to come out in the theaters. I remember seeing the trailers for it back, in the dark ages before all this happened. So and studios are in kind of the position now, I guess, with movies whether they're going to decide to hold it to hopefully put out in theaters or shuttle it over to a streaming services, which is what the makers of this movie decided to do, obviously. So The Lovebirds, it stars Issa Rae from Insecure. I don't know if you watched that show, but it's a really good show. And Kumail Nanjiani, who's a really good actor. I mainly know him from The Big Sick, which is a great movie. It's actually the same director who made this.
Okay.
So it's a sort of romantic comedy, I guess. It's kind of more of a, well, yeah, I guess it is. They play this couple who's been together for a year and get kind of mixed up in a murder mystery. So it's kind of like Game Night a little bit, as in like the movie. It's like a comedy where a couple gets mixed up into like maybe a real murder mystery. I don't think it's anywhere near Game Night though, unfortunately. I thought this movie was okay. It did make me laugh. I love Issa Rae. I love Kumail Nanjiani. If there's any reason to see this movie, I would say it's them. It's definitely not the story. Unlike Game Night, you're not going to find yourself like actually interested in how it's going to turn out, really, or actually interested in what's going on. So I mean, it's an okay way to kill 90 minutes, I guess. But it's pretty average, really. Like I said, the only reason to see it really would be the two stars, because I really like them both. They're good. They're funny. They made me laugh. But overall, it was the kind of movie that you kind of forget about 10 minutes later, or at least I did. So, what did you think of it?
Yeah, I probably might have liked it maybe a little bit more than you did. I don't necessarily disagree with what you said. I don't think that the story was anything original or anything that you haven't. You said Game Night, but it actually reminded me a little bit more of Date Night, the one with Steve Carell. And, it reminded me more of that one because it's like they're basically, like a couple that's already together, kind of out for like a date kind of thing. And then they get mixed up into like all this craziness. You know what I mean? So it reminded me a little bit more of that one, in my opinion, where they're like already kind of a couple that, and it's just really just the two of them versus Game Night was like a bunch of people basically involved in that. You know what I mean? They're all kind of doing different things. So this one reminded me a little bit more of that. I thought it was funny. I enjoyed the two leads mostly. Like you said, the story is not anything that I haven't seen before. It's nothing original in the story or anything like that. But I don't know. It had enough laughs to keep me entertained. Like I said, there was enough happening in there that, I was, mostly interested in how it was going to turn out and that kind of stuff. I kind of predicted a little bit of how it was going to end. There are some things that, I kind of figured out on my own a little bit, but for the most part, like you said, it's not a bad way to spend 90 minutes. It's short. And going back to your point, in terms of like the movies that they decided to delay versus the movies that they decided to, put on like a streaming service or whatever. And I really think it's just based on what they thought, they could make money off of. You know what I mean? Like this wasn't a movie that like, I mean, these are people that are probably semi-recognizable if you watch some of those shows and stuff like that, but neither one of them are like big box office draws or anything like that. So, as opposed to like, Tenet or, the new Fast and Furious or the new Bond film or something like that. Those are big draw films. You know what I mean? So those are ones that probably you're never going to go to a streaming service because they know that they can make a lot of money off of them. This one is like one of those movies that I think that like if it was released today, it would probably be like in that $15 to $20 million range in terms of opening, depending on what it was up against. So I could totally see why this one went to the streaming service.
Yeah, it does. It seems at home. On Netflix, to be honest. I don't think, like you said, I think the box office would have been pretty modest at best. And
yeah, this wasn't going to be no $100 million blockbuster film. You know what I mean? So, I could totally see why it went to the streaming service. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. I didn't have any necessarily fault with it or anything like that, or you know, I wasn't bored or anything like that or disinterested. It just wasn't anything that I'd be like, I got to see that again, or you know what I mean? That's one that I'm going to own in my personal collection or something crazy like that. But I get a general sense I might have liked it a little bit more than you did, but I didn't necessarily love it either. So
right, yeah. It was okay. Like, you know, like we were talking about, like it's at home on a streaming service. You know, I didn't feel like I really wasted time watching it. But if it had been in the theater and I had paid $15 to see it, then I might have been like, that was $15 I could have kept. You know?
that is a very good point as well. I'm kind of glad that
that's another reason why it's probably in the best place it should be, where people can go like, sure, why not?
Yeah, exactly. On board. There's nothing else new coming out, so might as well go with this. So
and like there's way worse movies you could watch. That's for sure. I like the actors. I love Insecure is one of my favorite shows. So it's just good to see them. So
cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll move on to the second film.
Yes.
I will take on that one.
Sure.
Which is going to be Selah and the Spades. Not a lot of big stars in this movie. Nobody that I personally recognize other than the dean of the school. He's about the only person that I reckon. I can't even remember his name off the top of my head.
I don't remember where I've seen him either.
It seems like Jesse or something like. I can't remember exactly what his. You know, I don't remember.
I looked that up and I forgot.
Yeah. But so basically, Selah and the Spades is basically about this, you know, kind of prep high school, if you will, very affluent high school for like the, you know, very smart and talented kids, basically. And in the midst of all this, these very intelligent, highly intelligent kids that are, you know, getting ready to graduate and go to these big Ivy League schools, most likely, they are also in these little gangs, if you will. The Spades being one of them, where they basically deal drugs and that sort of stuff. They have other gangs and that do other things. You know, they set up parties off campus, and you know, they just do a lot of stuff like that. And so there's a lot of conflict with all the different factions and different gangs that are at this preparatory high school, if you will. And that's basically kind of what the movie's about. And it's about the conflicts and the struggles of all these like very intelligent kids that are also on the side, you know, doing all these drugs and things of this nature. And, you know, they, you know, I mean, literally they're drug dealers. So if you don't have the money or you didn't pay up or whatever, they have you beat up and that sort of stuff. And, I don't know. I didn't hate it or anything like that. I wasn't completely interested in it. It just didn't. I don't know. It was hard for me to really understand. You know, these are supposed to be high schoolers, and I granted they were very intelligent high schoolers, but you know, I know a lot of smart people, and I don't know that many people that can. You're not one of those people. I do know a lot of smart people, and you know, even in high school, and and granted, they weren't going to this prestigious high school, but the ones that are really academically, you know what I mean, like straight A students and that kind of stuff, it's just hard for me to fathom and believe that they're all also involved in this drug trade and that kind of stuff. I just can't see kids being able to balance both of that at that level anyways, you know, because it's almost like a good faction of the school that's able to do that. So I had a little trouble believing that story initially. And, you know, the conflict in the story was like, it was okay. But for me, it just really didn't lead anywhere particularly. And, you know, there was not really a lot of closure in terms of what was going to happen. You know, a lot of things were talked about or discussed off, you know, that happened before. And like, so there's a lot of things that happen with, you know, the lead character who's played by, and I don't know her name exactly. But she, you know, is this the leader of the Spades gang or whatever. So it's mostly around her. She's also a cheerleader as well. You know, also a straight A student, but also runs a gang. Also, I don't know. So she's got her hands in a lot of different things. Clearly, which is just I don't know. For me, it's just hard to believe that that's a believable story. It reminded me a little bit of a less interesting version of like Cruel Intentions kind of thing, where like, you know, she kind of takes somebody under her wing, that you know, maybe is going to be like that next person to kind of take over her reins when she graduates from high school and goes off to college kind of thing. And so, you know, but they also kind of mess with her in a way, and they do things to her also, or things happen with the girl that she takes under her wing. And so it kind of reminded me of like I said, a less interesting version of like a Cruel Intentions type movie. Not completely to that level, but they still did a lot of really bad stuff to people in the movie. They, you know, one of the girls, they basically, you know, there's a lot that happens. They got one of the girls basically expelled from school and that sort of stuff before. And so, you know, they're all mean, nasty kids. And I don't know, I just didn't find any of the kids really that likable for me. I didn't find any of the kids likable, or particularly, other than the lead, maybe there wasn't really that many other kids that I really thought were that particularly interesting. You know what I mean? It just wasn't a fun film. There was nothing really happened, not a whole lot resolved at the end. And it was kind of one of those other films where I kind of ended it like, okay, well, what was the point of that? You know what I mean? And that's just that was my basic opinion. So, so I can't say that I necessarily love this one either. So, yeah. What were your thoughts?
More or less along the same lines. I was really looking forward to this one because I had read some positive reviews, and I think it's in the 90 percentile for Rotten Tomatoes. Not that that always means anything, but it's kind of a high tomato meter. And I read some good reviews, and I watched the trailer, and I was like, that's what I was expecting too. The trailer is really good. It makes you think it's going to be like a Cruel Intentions, you know, because I like movies about cliques, and I like movies about like bad kids, I guess. So the trailer really gives off a lot of vibes of movies that I like Cruel Intentions, like Better Luck Tomorrow. There's a lot of that in there. Like Heathers, Mean Girls, you know, movies about like kids being nasty to each other, basically. You know, I like that kind of stuff. And it's just not on that level, though. You know what I mean? Like, it's got a lot of pieces that I like. You know, the acting is pretty good. No one really blew me away. It's got like the camera work is nice. The music's nice. I like all the idea of the warring factions and everything like that. And one thing that I didn't expect it to remind me of is a movie called Brick. I'm not sure if you've seen that or not, but it's
maybe.
Yeah, because it did strike me the same way as you. Like the kids they're basically playing adults,
right?
Which at first it was like, this is really weird because they're actually. I was thinking like, you know, in the 80s, teen movies had like adult actors playing teens and pretending to be teens, where it's like this was like the reverse. It was like actual teenage actors acting like
adults.
And I think I like it better the other way. But you know, it was like, I don't think it was going for realism though, for one thing. So I get it. It was not going for realism. It's going for more of like a like Brick. Brick is a movie where it's a cool movie. I haven't seen it in probably 10 years, but I really liked it, where it's like very intentionally like a film noir, like where the characters actually speak in dialogue that's like from the 40s movies, you know.
I think I remember that. I think I did. Yeah. You might have even shown that one to me, I think. I vaguely remember that movie, so yeah.
Yeah, so that was one where they were high schoolers. It was at a high school, but they were playing like it was like a gangster movie almost, and they spoke like 40s gangster movies. And this was almost the same thing. I mean, the dialogue was modern, but it was very much kind of like that kind of kids playing like in this adult world kind of thing. And you know, I think that's a cool idea. I liked Brick. I like a lot of the separate things about this movie, but it just never drew me in. And there's a whole lot of subplots that just go nowhere. You know, like you were mentioning, like the guy who plays the dean, you know, he's set up like really early on as like, you know, like that's going to be their big foe or whatever. And it just kind of goes nowhere. And there's the whole story about the girl that was kind of preceded the main character, who's kind of like the initiate. And that kind of resolves in a very kind of blah way to me.
It was really off camera, and so you never really got to see exactly what happened with that, and I don't know. So yeah.
Right. And I'm not like, I don't need everything tied up neatly. I don't need everything to be like a big moment, you know. But I was just never drawn into this movie. There were a lot of things. I think it's a first-time director, and it feels like a first-time director's movie. So you know, I think the director, maybe her next movie will be better, because it's got like, you know, for someone's first film, it's pretty good. But hopefully she makes the stronger story next time, I guess. So it was okay.
Yeah,
Kind of
I agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, so I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, that's our 2 movie reviews for that. So,
I wasn't too wild about either one this time.
no, same here, man. Same here.
Yeah.
Well, I guess going back to the Lovebirds.
It's on the poster.
Yeah. What is your overall grade and face you would give it, man?
I gave it a 3 out of 5, which is
Okay.
like kind of in the B- C+ range. I'd probably lean on the B- because I like the actors, but I'm going to give it this face. Just kind of just a very small smile. Just
Got
like,
it.
I had an okay time. That's about it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually going to give it the same grade as you, but I don't know. I always kind of feel like my 3s are weighted higher than yours for some reason.
Your
I don't know.
3 out of 5 is means more than my 3 out of 5.
Right. I always kind of feel that way. I don't know why, but I guess because you give a lot more like 5-star films than I do, so that's probably why I feel that way. I'm like, yeah. Like, I know if you give something like a 3 out of 5, you almost didn't even like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of like, well, I mean, like if you think about it, because 3 out of 5 is just barely, like, it's just like, what is, like, okay, a C is average, okay? So halfway between 1 and 5 is 2.5. So
Right.
What that's saying to me is that it's just slightly above average.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but for you, like your 3 out of 5 seems almost like a B+ or something almost.
Means I loved it. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. And I will give it this face, which is basically me smiling with no teeth. So I liked it, but not enough to show those pearly whites. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So that's
All right.
that's kind of where I'm at on that one. So
Cool.
cool. What about Selah and the Spades?
So that I gave 2.5 out of 5, which again, like I said, is as average. It's a C to me. So that would be this face. Just no emotion really. Just kind of, which is kind of the look on my face when I was watching. It was just kind of like, is this ever going to go anywhere? So again, like I think there's a lot of artistry to it. Like I like the ideas behind it. I like a lot of the things about it stylistically, but it just didn't cohere into anything that was that interesting to me. And I was going to say something else, but I left my mind. Oh yeah, I was going to say, like, I more or less kind of felt the same about these movies, but I give the Lovebirds the edge because at least it made me laugh. So that's why I would give it the slight edge.
Yeah.
How about you?
I definitely like Lovebirds over Selah and the Spades. I would give that probably 2 out of 5 for me. That's what I'm going to go with on that one. And then I'm going to give it, in my opinion, I'm going to give it this face, which is a bored face because I was kind of bored, to be honest with you. So, I was just kind of uninterested. The kids just they just kind of annoyed me a little bit after a while, and I didn't really care where the story was going, because none of them were really likable. You know what I mean? None of the kids were. I didn't really feel that sympathetic. They were all conniving and they're all gang members or whatever that deal drugs and stuff like that. So they didn't really have any like real likable redeeming qualities other than they were like, well beyond their years in terms of intelligence. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. There's not a lot of redeeming qualities in the kids. And so I just kind of felt like I was kind of uninterested for a good part of the film, and it felt like it was like kind of a labor for me just to get through it. So,
what do you think? Because I mean, like, think about Better Luck Tomorrow, which is like a really cool movie, also about like rich prep kid A students who deal drugs and stuff like that. But that's such a better movie. Like, what do you think's different? I guess more interesting characters and it's more realistic.
Well, for one, that movie they showed more of their actual life setting. This one was primarily just set at the school, so there wasn't, other than the main character, we saw her at home briefly for like one scene or something like that. But it was all compacted into like just the school because they basically lived there on the campus or whatever. But it just felt really closed in. You know what I mean? So there wasn't room for them to expand upon those characters outside of academics, the drug trade. You know what I mean? That was pretty much it. You know what I mean? So, and then the occasional cheerleading scene, but I never actually saw them cheerleading at any game. So I don't even know what the point of even having them being cheerleaders was. You know what I mean? I'm like, what? I don't know. So, but they made a point to show that scene of them being in cheerleading outfits and cheerleading at least 3 or 4 times, but you never saw them at a game, or you never really saw the kids do anything in that film. You know what I mean? That was my issue with it. With Better Luck Tomorrow, you actually saw them do other stuff other than just, a little bit of, you got to see their homes and their lifestyle and that kind of stuff a little bit. Whereas you didn't really get that. You knew they were rich because of the school, but you didn't really get to see what their full lifestyle was about. So I guess that was kind of the difference for me. So they didn't expand the characters enough for me, in my opinion. So
yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. Well, that is going to conclude this show. Once again, we thank you guys for watching. Continue to keep watching, and we're getting shows posted up as fast as we can for you guys, and we appreciate all the great support that we've received thus far. We've seen like a lot of people have really are liking our content and liking the shows, and we ask that you continue to subscribe and hit our bell notification so you get updates on whenever we're going to do a new video or post or that sort of stuff. And we'll have another video coming for you guys real soon. Thank you and have a great day.